Amazing, amazing. Man of few words. So Moses, Moise, you took the driver's seat this morning. Yeah. Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to If You Ask Jimmy. Today we have a guest on our show, and you can see he took charge. I'm introducing to you today uh, Moise Efo. I believe he's going to help me to pronounce that name better. Moise, please, in case I mispronounce your name.
I think you are right. It's Moise Efo.
Moise Efo. Right. Moise has just told us that he is an IT professional and a citizen of the United States. We have the pleasure of welcoming you to our studio this today, and we're going to be engaging you in order to learn, to grow, and to live better in this our dynamic and very complex world. Where do I start from today, guys?
It's up you.
It's up to me. That is so true. So, Moise, you want to share
Yeah.
your a bit of your background with us? If you're comfortable talking about maybe how you navigated from your country of birth to America and where you are today, sir.
Okay. I was born in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. So I did everything from elementary school to the university in Cote d'Ivoire. I even worked for 8 years for oil company, right? And after some time, I noticed that the thing was not moving because of the structure of the company, right? I wanted to grow, but I was somehow blocked by my boss because there is no other level for him to move up in the system. So I was like, okay, man, um, I've been doing that for years now, 8 years. It's pretty long, right? I want to do something else. So I put myself together and start looking outside the country, either England, Canada, or United States, to move forward. And thanks God, everything happened that I have to come to US, you know, and that is why I'm here.
Amazing, amazing. So your let me use the word now that it has found its way into the dictionary. Your
Mhm.
story, your migration is was intentional.
Yes.
Because there is Japa now. I don't know if you have heard the term Japa. It's actually a Nigerian Yoruba word,
Mhm.
and it means to actually. It now means officially to migrate to, some other parts
It's
of
broken. I cannot hear you. Yeah.
of the world. Yes, and also it is conceived to mean that okay, if Africa is tough, people just take off and go look for greener pastures. But people like you, it was intentional as at the time that you
Mhm.
made that move. Let us dwell in that area a little bit because you said that you were a professional working in an oil company in Abidjan, and you had this thought, seeing what was going on around you. I don't know if you have observed the rate at which people are emptying from Africa into the West and other parts of the world now. Is this something you have observed?
Yes, it's made coming from the lack of opportunity generally in our countries, right? When I was in Abidjan, right, I can say for the company that I was working, we were around those top pay employee in the country. I was making some good cash. I even have my own car and all those things, right? But since those opportunities are missing, you cannot even move. You cannot even move from one company to another. So as soon as you get one, you get stop there. You wait for your retirement and so
Ooh.
on, right? And then Africa is growing. It's a young continent. You have a lot of people getting degree. The rate at which we're getting degree back home is not the same rate at which jobs are getting created, right? In the 80s, before 90s, for example, when you were in the university in Abidjan, you already have a job. Being a
Hmm.
student, you already have a job, right? But the development of the country didn't follow that line, right? we start getting a lot of engineer, a lot of people having a diploma, but they cannot get on the work market. So that push a lot of them, to try to look to look for something else. And I said, for me, it was different. For some other people, it's little bit, it's also different because having your degree, not be able to have a job, what can you do? There is no opportunity. You end up living, taking some very bad risk, trying to find better outside the country.
That's so correct. You see, what you said actually happened with us also in Nigeria. When we're growing up, all these companies will go to universities to recruit, they will go to colleges before people are out of school. A job was waiting for them. You are truly right. But the rate of the jobs did not grow according to the rate of the population and
Yes.
the number of graduates that were being churned out from those institutions. That leads me to the next question. To migrate, like when you did, was intentional, it was calculated, it was strategic. But a lot of people, if I can use the word right now, they're desperate to immigrate to foreign countries. Desperation. Well, I'm not talking down my home country. I'm equally an American, but coming from Nigeria, I can safely say that a lot of people that are migrating at this time, it's due to some pressures back home. And
Yes.
don't know if it is fair to use the word desperate. Do you see that happening in your own part of Africa? You come from a French
Yeah,
speaking area of
it's
Africa.
the same. Is Yes, it's exactly the same feeling. Okay, um, spending close to, let's say, 15 years, between 14 years and 15 years studying, right? You
Mm-hmm.
finish, parent has spent money on you to get to that level,
Right.
and you sit there. Soon your dad will get retired. Soon your mom will not be able to provide. You
Mm,
cannot still stay with them. You notice that in Africa, in some houses, even those kids have 30 years old, 35 years old, sometimes 40, they're still living with the parent. You don't see that in the US. At 18, it's over. Find yourself something because people have this opportunity to get job easily.
that's
And we don't have that there. Right. Being at 35, 30, 35 at home with your parent, come on, you're a human being. At some point, you are like, damn, what am I doing here? Let me try something else. So that push people to be in that state of desperation and then try to do something, right? And when when one kid succeeds, it's supposed to help the others. And if you end up being the head of the family, the first on the family, you have that pressure on your shoulder. So you have to do something. That is what push people, taking those risks.
wow. You hit the nail on the head because you were able to drive the conversation with a background to explain the desperation. Why the desperation? Because my concern here is people are desperate. You are crossing borders, you are crossing oceans, but people do so without papers. Sometimes they might have a visa to enter the country, but not in the category of being able to stay back and work. And you've been around in the US for quite a while. Where does that put such people when they do not have the right status in the system? When they get here to the US, they escaped Africa. Yes, they are here. They found, I mean, and you know how it is. People back home is like the moment you cross over to the other side, it's as if people are picking body on the street. But this guy gets here or this lady gets here, but it's just a visitor. He doesn't have the class of visa to work. What's your observation on that, and where does that put them in the system here?
It's very difficult. Even people coming with a paper, right? I came here with a paper, right? But I
Wow,
came in 2009, right? And 2009, we are coming from the recessions, and it was difficult to get a job. And
wow.
on top of it, I wasn't speaking English fluently, right?
Hmm.
So for me, being here, having a paper, I have to support myself 6 months without getting a job. 6 months paying rent, paying this for 6 months before I even get something, right? So if at the time I noticed that it was difficult, what's gonna happen to someone who didn't have a paper at all? Right? You end up being working under pressure. You end up being working in the market. You end up asking for someone's social security to work with that, right? But when you do with that, hey, you don't control anything. You depend on them.
You don't control
Right.
anything.
You don't control anything. You just work as you can. You can end up, especially if you end up in the big town, like, sometimes we are in Africa and we're like, oh, I want to go to Chicago, I want to go to New York, I want to go to LA. Those are the big towns, right? And those big towns, the money that you're making, even having a paper, is not enough to support yourself. And then if you find yourself working on the black market, you're gonna have to do 3 or 4 jobs, and you will not be able to cover anything. So you're gonna be under pressure all the time till your situation change.
Wow. Now we are been able to situate that the system leads people to be desperate, but there is this perception also that Africa as a continent is lazy. I hear people using that word, not the people, but as a collective. Because when we compare our development in Africa to the Asian contemporaries that we started off with, like, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and some of those, countries, some of them that have been able to find their way. I think Hong Kong found its way to the first world, from third world to first world. The ineptitude and misgovernance of our leaders, people believe, actually is what pushed this new generation, this younger generation, into desperation because of some mismanagement or some things that went under. And our continent is not just isn't attractive, for the workspace or some like abundance of jobs and the strength of our economy. What's your own thought? There's a school of thought that says Africans are lazy compared to Asia because those people were able to move ahead despite the fact that they have, similar history with us of colonialism. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, on that, I think you have some good point on it, right? Especially the corruption of our politics, right? The system is too corrupt, and even with that, even with the money that they're making, they don't have the vision for the African. There's no vision. They don't feel like they need to develop. They don't feel like they have to prove something. See what's going on right now. Everybody will try to be the first, right? You take some countries, they don't have raw material at all, but they have the brain, and they're doing good. So we put ourselves like, okay, we have agriculture, especially for my country with the cocoa and coffee. We just produce. Okay, this part can be a little bit tricky because those culture we got it from the colonization, right?
Right.
And at the time they were using those side of our country like a big plantation, right? They need coffees, they need cocoa. There is a place in Africa where it can be produced. So, we're sending those things to them. We got our independence. Our first presidents, I don't really know what was going on, what are the pressure that they were facing, but they couldn't really, develop, right? And the love of power as well as African, you and me, that African like power, they like to be the boss, So
power is sweet.
all this together make people feel like Africans are lazy. I mean, yes, we are some of people, and this laziness is not just from African, it's everywhere. But if you are in a situation where people feel like the majority are lazy, it's just because those few people who try to change stuff, right, who working hard, are not noticed, right? So we end up considering that everybody's lazy. No, you have some good workers, you have people who work hard to make this change. But if you are not on the right side, when I say on the right side, the politics side, who is running the country, no matter what you do, they will bring you down.
Wow.